What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to D+Pad Life, and today I want to talk about all the games I beat in January of 2026. This was an insane month for me when it came to completing games. I don't know if I've ever had a month quite like this. There are a few reasons as to why it worked out, which we'll get into, but before we jump into the video, if you saw the thumbnail, you saw there's 11 games here. Now, a good portion of them are on my 3DS in here. But as you can see, plenty of physical titles as well on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. But before we begin, a little bit of a spoiler action for you right there. We'll leave that in. In fact, we'll leave it just like this. This is perfect. Before we dig into this, make sure you leave a like on the video if you enjoy the content as you're watching. That goes a long way to support us. And also comment down below, what games did you beat in January, or what games are you in the process of beating? I'd love to hear where you guys are at and what it is you're working towards currently. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and dive in, and I'll give a little bit of a prefix. We'll keep these ones in the shot for right now. So I was able to beat a lot of games for two big reasons. One, I actually tackled a lot of smaller retro content this go around, which isn't something I generally spend a whole lot of time doing, but it happens from time to time. And lately I've been finding that I've been enjoying that more and more. And as well as I did a good amount of traveling in January. So this 3DS came into great use. It came with me on my trip and kept me company while I was out of the country. And so I was able to dig into a few things here. One of the games on the list I beat before leaving, as well as a few of the games I beat were games that I had started sometime last year, but just got around to beating them now. And so for me, they count as beaten in January. It doesn't matter when I started, it's about what games got beat. So I am going in the order in which I played the game, so that's something to keep in mind. This might be a little bit of a longer video. I do plan to gush a little bit about these games, so let's just jump right into it. So for beginners here, we've got Astrobot Rescue Mission. Now, I will be, I'll practice some brevity when it comes to this game because I did a whole video about this game. So if you love Astrobot, make sure you check out that video. I believe it's called Astrobot Never Stood a Chance, or no, it's the Forgotten Astrobot game or something along those lines. And it's about Astrobot Rescue Mission, the VR game for the PlayStation 4. This game, man, it's freaking phenomenal, you guys. If you are on the fence at all or have any curiosity about PlayStation VR, this is a must play and a must own. In my opinion, this is a system seller for the PlayStation VR. If you can get that headset for like 50 to 80 bucks or so, maybe 100 if there's like a good amount of games you really want to try, I definitely recommend picking up this one. I think it is really, really good. I'm certainly going to revisit this one at some point for sure. I mean, I loved Astrobot's Playroom, and I thought this one was even better. I now understand why people were saying that this game was like a revolutionary 3D platformer. Being able to play a 3D platformer in VR the way this game is designed, it's absolutely game-changing. Absolutely. And what's really fun is just yesterday actually, I picked this up from the library. I'm finally going to get to check out the newest Astrobot game on PlayStation 5, and I'm super excited about that. I love how they still got the shout outs to the old characters in bot form from all the PlayStation IPs. That's really fun. So this will be getting played really soon here, and I'll likely do a little bit of coverage on the channel, but yeah, again, don't want to go too far into this. This does have its own dedicated video. Be sure you check that out. So Astrobot was the first game. The second game was Batman Arkham City, plus its DLC. I was able to complete the entire game, actually. The only thing I didn't do was some of the Riddler challenges outside of the main game. I collected all the trophies, I did all the puzzles, all of that stuff within the game, but outside of the game, there's like these battle challenge modes, and they're labeled as like Riddler challenges. I didn't bother with any of that stuff. It wasn't really calling my name, but I can definitely vouch that Arkham City is still a legendary game. It's still very fun. It's very cool. I got mixed feelings on the Arkham franchise as a whole. There's some stuff they do that I don't necessarily like. Some of the ways that the story progresses or some of the characters are portrayed that it's not exactly up my alley, but all in all, very happy that I played this again, and I've already got Arkham Knight installed. I'm definitely going to play Arkham Knight next, and then if I'm still craving more Batman, I'll go ahead and jump into the Arkham Origins game on the PlayStation 3. I do have that one, so it wouldn't be too big of a deal for me to just like pop that in and play it. But yeah, if I'm still craving Batman, that'll be the only one too, because I played Arkham Origins Blackgate not that long ago. And now I played Asylum, and now I played City, and I'm definitely going to play Night. So Origins would be the only one left, so I wouldn't be shocked if I play that by the end of the year. Now, next up is when things get interesting and really fast-paced. So, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I was going ham on, that's a phrase we haven't heard in a while, I was going ham on the 3DS during my trip. And one of the games that I was able to beat before the trip that I had actually started at some point in 2024 was this one, Jet Rocket 2, The Wrath of Takai. Now, this is just like a little humble 3D platformer. It's an indie game. It's nothing too crazy, nothing too big, nothing too special, but it is fun. I enjoyed it. Had a nice little challenge here and there. The final boss was really tough, but ultimately was able to get past it. It doesn't leave me with much to say other than I'm kind of curious about what Jet Rocket 1 would be like. Would I recommend it? I mean, if you've got a modded 3DS and you're trying to mess around with some content that you can't purchase anymore, yeah, you know, pop it in, take it for a spin. I wouldn't say necessarily stick through till the end. I wouldn't necessarily say it's worth all that, but I had enough fun with it, and I knew it was a short enough game that I said, you know what, let me go ahead and get through this one. So there was that, and then oh, okay. Sorry, I got a phone call. I thought it was, I thought it interrupted the record. Well, that's the raw natures of these videos. Yeah, someone called and I thought the video paused and it didn't, but we're just going to keep it rolling. So then I picked up another game that I had started on prior to January, and I just decided I'd go ahead and finish it because we had a lot of travel on airplanes and a bit of downtime where we were staying. So I thought, you know what the heck? Might as well finish up 3D Classics Kirby Adventure, or Kirby's Adventure. This game is incredible, man. This is one of those things that's like makes the 3DS so worth owning. Kirby's Adventure is already an incredible game, but this version actually suffers from zero slowdown, which is a massive, massive part of the original NES experience. And so being able to play this without any slowdown was really remarkable. The game is much harder in that regard without the slowdown. Like, you've really got to look ahead, you really got to think in advance, and you got to be quick on your feet to avoid enemies and things of that nature, because I'm so used to Kirby's Adventure. This is my absolute favorite NES game. It's the first game that I ever beat as a kid, and so I have a lot of like nostalgia and really strong memories with this one. And yeah, it's phenomenal. This is a really fun version to play. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it is my preferred version, because there are some changes to like background scenery and stuff that I'm not 100% a fan of, but that's okay. It is definitely a version that I'll revisit in the future. I play this game probably every like 3 to 5 years. I replay this game and I 100% complete it every time, because honestly, it's not that challenging to. But yeah, Kirby's Adventure, super fantastic. Really enjoyed this version, but this wasn't the only 3D classic I played, which, if I haven't made it clear, this game isn't 3D. They used the 3DS to make this game have layers, and it is super cool to see. The other game I played was 3D Streets of Rage 2, and this does a lot of what Kirby does as far as just not really having slowdown, which I don't know if Streets of Rage 2 really had, to be honest, but layering things, making things pop, giving you that awesome 3D effect. I had never actually beaten a Streets of Rage game before. Well, no, I beat Streets of Rage 4 with my wife now that I think about it, but I never beat Streets of Rage 2 or any of the classic entries. And so thankfully this has like save states, so I went ahead and utilized that to get through it, because man, this game is tough, dude. This game is definitely not easy, but it was a blast. I enjoyed it. I play as Skate every time. I love Skate. I think he's a super cool character. And just got phenomenal soundtrack, really fun to play. The 3D on the Sega-made 3D classic games is a lot more stronger than the Nintendo-made ones, so you do gotta like be very careful with where you're gonna put that knob. I usually kept it relatively low because man, it would just trip me out sometimes with how much depth it would get, that the image would start kind of like distorting. So in any case, yeah, this was another one that I had started prior to the month of January, but just decided, you know what, I'm actually gonna go ahead and finish this one. I put a bunch of time into it, and let's knock this one out too. So it was really cool because I hadn't really played many retro games in a really, really, really long time. And so by playing Kirby and playing this, it really got me in the mood to play older games again, which is where the next game comes in. So on my modded 3DS, I also have emulators. And so here I have the Genesis emulator, and I played the Beavis and Butthead video game on here and completely beat it. Now, I will admit, I did use save states because, again, they're just tough games. The way I see it nowadays is like, I'm an adult. I don't always have the time to like be able to commit myself to a game to get my skill to such a degree that I'm going to be able to just beat these games without something such as save states. To me, it's like I'm more interested in like, what is the experience the game has to offer and what's the ending like? That stuff's usually what's calling to me the most. So if there's an opportunity to speed up the gameplay or to secure my gameplay time with like a save state, I'm going to take full advantage of it. No shame. I don't care. And Beavis and Butthead is one of those games that I did that with. And I got to say, man, if you've never played this game, check it out. It is actually extremely good. Way better than it has any right to be. Talk about a game based off an IP that you wouldn't expect to be good at all. But Beavis and Butthead, man, it's kind of like, no, I wouldn't say like a point and click adventure, but kind of like Day of the Tentacle in a way. Like you go around different levels looking for items that you can use in other levels. And you really got to use your brain. You got to be creative. Some of the solutions are tough, man. I actually did have to look up how to do something. Like I knew there's a fishing rod in the game and I knew I had to use it and I kind of knew where I needed to use it. Kind of knew, and since I didn't know exactly where, I had to look it up, and it turned out I was so close. I was on the right course, but I had just kind of missed it. And then there was some stuff that I totally would have missed, totally would have gone over my head. And it's kind of fascinating because playing this game really reminded me of how important it is to put yourself in the state of mind that you would have been in when these games were new. And part of that is also like, how familiar are you with the IP? Because there are things you do in this game that I believe are references to old Beavis and Butthead episodes that weren't fresh on my mind, so I didn't think about them as solutions. But when I started solving them or looking up the answers and being like, oh, that's what I need to do, and then going and doing it, then it was like a core memory was unlocked. It was like, oh yeah, they did do this on that show. They did do this. This is based off that episode. So I thought that was kind of funny. So 4 games beaten on the 3DS alone. So man, the 3DS pulled its weight this month. And thankfully, since, they're all like an indie game and some retro games, they just stacked up really quick and they built up this momentum in me to just continue that route, to be like, man, once I beat these games on that trip, I was like, when I get home, I got to start tackling some games because I'm about to have a crazy January if I just put my mind to it. And so one of the games that was waiting for me when I got home was this one, Little Nightmares 3. Now, I have played Little Nightmares 1 and 2. There is a video of them on the channel. I think it's called When Sackboy is Spooky or something like that. Make sure you check that out. That's a fun little video. But Little Nightmares 3, I hadn't heard great things about it, but I knew I wanted to play it since I had already played the first and the second one. To me, it was like, well, I might as well check this one out too, right? And it's only like a 6-hour game, so I thought, yeah, might as well check it out, might as well enjoy myself and just see what it has to offer. And ultimately, I really felt the same as a lot of what I've heard other people say. It's just okay. It's not doing anything better that the other games did, in my opinion, and the co-op doesn't exactly like transform the experience like I think they were hoping it would. I played it on solo, and the co-op actually kind of gets in the way, not because of bad AI, but almost the AI is too good. The AI always knows where to go to hide. It always knows how to avoid incoming damage. So if you just follow them, you're fine. So I would try to ignore them, but that just kind of seems stupid because they were always on the right track, and it would just avoid deaths and again speed up the game. Now on co-op, you obviously wouldn't have that luxury, and you'd be working with someone having to figure that out. But I didn't have anyone to play co-op with at the time, and I wasn't necessarily looking to. I just kind of wanted to see what the game had to offer. get through it, and I'm glad I did. I am really glad that I played Little Nightmares 3, just to know that I've beaten the trilogy, and I can feel good in like completing that. I don't plan on buying this one. I own 1 and 2. I'm not even sure if I'll end up keeping those in the long run, but this isn't one that I think I'll ever need to play again. Maybe if I revisited 1 and 2 and just felt the need to kind of complete that experience, I would, but ultimately, I think I'm going to pass. Little Nightmares 3 is only okay. The next game is a VR game called The Inpatient, and this game had a little bit more going on with it than I thought. I've discussed this one in other videos, and I've described it as more of a VR experience than a game, and yeah, it is, but it does have more gameplay than I actually gave it credit for, than I really realized it did. I had had this game explained to me by a few people, and they did not break it down for me about just how much gameplay was actually in this, and I was not impressed by the gameplay. Ultimately, this one is intended to be played and beaten multiple times, and I'm not doing that. I got my fill with the first run. I found this game to be pretty mundane, pretty disappointing. If I end up keeping my VR headset like forever, I will be selling off VR games that don't interest me and that I won't be returning to. This will be one of them. In the meantime, though, I'm going to hold on to all my VR games. So if I want to sell the headset as a whole, I have a huge lot of games to sell with it, and I believe I can move it quicker that way. Give someone basically an instant collection. But yeah, The Impatient's not one I'd recommend. If you're looking into VR or are a VR owner, I'd say this one's skippable. It does take place in the Until Dawn universe, but it's like barely there, and it's not nearly as interesting as Until Dawn was, or even Rush of Blood, to be honest with you. This game, totally passable. I don't think you're missing out on anything. It did give me a good jump scare like twice, but you can play a lot of games for that, you know what I mean? So we've got 3 more games, 2 PS5s, 1 PS4. 2 of them are indie titles, as you can see right there on the front. Bam. Yooka-Laylee. Now, I never played Yooka-Laylee. I never actually played the original version. This was my very first time getting my hands on this game, and I just kind of picked it up on a whim. I saw it at the library, which, if you ever see these on these games, that's the library. So I picked it up at the library, and I just thought, you know, I love 3D platformers. Yooka-Laylee, I heard, is not super great, but it did have its own little fan base. But once they remade it, I had heard people talking about how the remake was really good. So I said, you know what? Sure, I'm going to play that. I'm going to check it out. And boy, am I glad I did. I had an absolute blast with this one. I had so much fun with it that ultimately I want to get this. I need to get myself a copy of this game. This is really cool. Now, it didn't start off that way. Initially, I was kind of like, I don't really know how I feel about this. It's fine. It's okay. It's not the greatest 3D platformer I've ever played, you know what I mean? But with some time, I really, like, these two really started to grow on me. I really appreciated their dialogue with the other characters. The humor in this game is top notch. It's really, really good stuff. And the gameplay in general is just pretty fun, and it's a really great collect-a-thon. There's a lot of stuff to collect, and most of it, you know, the challenge, it's not the most challenging game. There are some tough spots, there are some tough challenges, but, you know, enough tries, you get kind of used to it, and you're able to get through it. And that's one of the things I liked. I didn't have to, like, beat my head against the wall like I do playing, like, a Crash Bandicoot, for example. Crash Bandicoot games can be really challenging, but this game, it's a nice breezy experience, enough little challenge to kind of test you, and then also just like how aware of you are your surroundings. You know, can you find all the collectibles on your own? I found that was the ultimate challenge, was where do I need to go and what do I need to do to get everything? I had to look up a few locations for stuff. I did have to do that. But yeah, man, just really great. Super glad I played this one. Like I said, I just was like, hey, they got it. I'll check it out and maybe I'll like it. And I ended up really loving it. Like, I want to add this one to the collection. It's really cool. Now, another library pickup and another indie game, Terminator 2D, No Fate. Now, this came out not that long ago, and a bunch of my friends in our group chat were talking about it. And a lot of them bought themselves a copy and are super into it. They're super pro indie as well as Terminator fans. I'm not the biggest Terminator fan, and I just don't buy that many indie games, come to think of it. Like, I buy most games used anyway, That's just how I've always been. So when a brand new game comes out, the first thought of my mind isn't like, I need to go buy that. The first thought of my mind is, okay, put it on the list of something you can get later for cheaper. So I don't know if I'll ever actually buy this one, but I am glad I played it. It is incredibly short. I beat it in like 45 minutes or so. But there is some replay value. Once you come back for second and third runs, you can actually make alternative decisions near the end of the game, which alters the path of the movie, which is a really cool feature. But after I beat it, I didn't really feel the need to go back through it all over again to see those alternative paths. I'm like, I'm just going to look it up on YouTube. And I personally feel perfectly fine with that. I know for some people, like, they have to play it, they have to know, but I'm not one of those. But this game was really, really fun. There's a few surprises in it. There was a few things that I really appreciated. It put a big smile on my face several times. One thing I will say that was disappointing to me was, like, I didn't get to play as the Terminator, like, hardly at all. You get to play as him in, like, one level, and then the other 2 levels, you're technically controlling him. You're controlling a vehicle he's driving. So you only get to play as Arnold one time. And that was really disappointing, honestly. I didn't realize I'd be Sarah Connor so much. And then you also play as like John Connor in the future. So yeah, that was okay. I wanted to be the Terminator, but at the same time, when you really think about what he's involved in the movie and what he gets into, you can kind of understand how their hands were tied a little bit there. So maybe on some of the alternative paths, there's more Terminator levels. That could be interesting. But in any case, glad I played this one. Glad I checked it out. It was really fun. And again, it was just scratching that retro itch. Like, I feel like I've played so many retro games this month, and it's actually got me playing more. So a little spoiler for February, I just beat Crash 2, Cortex Strikes Back. So really happy to have done that. I just started Crash 3, and I've decided for my bedtime game, if I'm going to lay in bed, before I go to sleep for like an hour or so, and I'm going to play a game, I decided to start Final Fantasy 2, the PSP version, on my modded Vita. So that's really exciting. Just a lot of retro in my life right now, and I'm pretty happy about that. All right. Now, if you've been keeping count, we're only at 10 games. There's one game left. It's poked its head out here and there. You might have noticed it. The Order 1886. Now, this game is interesting, man. This game is a little controversial. People have opinions about this one. So this was a launch game or launch window for the PlayStation 4. I think it was out when the console dropped. And unfortunately for Ready at Dawn Studios, they had to rush this game out, man. And I say unfortunately, they had 5 years to make the game, but a lot of that was spent building an engine for it. And then they really had to rush it to get it out with the PlayStation 4. Sony put put a time frame on them. And I can understand why, to be truthful with you. Like, 5 years is a long time. We're launching a new console. Hurry the hell up. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you got to let things take as long as they're going to take so they can be great. And ultimately, if I had bought this game brand new, I think I would have been disappointed in it just like everybody else. But I got this game for $5. I got it at a pawn shop for $5. It's something I've been interested in for a while. And if you can get this game for like 10, 15 or less, I think you'll be really happy with it. It's on the shorter end of things. It's about 6 hours long. It is one of the most gorgeous games I've ever played. It is the best looking PS4 game I've ever seen in my life. It looks like a PS5 game, in my opinion. It is stunning how gorgeous this game is. I mean, it looks really, really good. The story I thought was really interesting and fun. I thought the world they created was amazing. I love the arsenal that you get exposed to. There's a lot of unique guns in this game that are just really fun to use. Ultimately, like, I was super pleased. I love the cast of characters. The acting is brilliant. The plot had a couple points where I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But I mean, that's most games. But ultimately, man, I walked away from this one just so happy I played it. I remember texting my brother. He's a fan of this one too, and just being like, dude, I am so happy I finally played The Order. This game freaking rules. When you can get it for cheap. If you bought it new, yeah, it's going to suck. It's like this game's also not just like a straight up game. It's got a lot of cutscenes, a lot of really long cutscenes. I call it like an experience with some gameplay. And the gameplay is pretty basic, little basic cover-based shooter, but it handles fine. It handles really good, you know. The AI partners are crappy. They don't really serve you very much. You're pretty much on your own when it comes to taking out enemies. I feel like at the start of the game, the AI was doing all right, but as I progressed, the AI just became detrimental, actually. There was a point where I was in cover and I was dying and I was trying to heal, and my AI companion came to the same cover I was on and started pushing against me and literally slid my character model out into incoming fire, and I died. But that only happened once. There weren't a lot of instances of that, but there was plenty of instances where I was getting rained down on and my allies are just hanging out, not helping at all. So that was really disappointing. This is one that I would love to see a sequel for, or even like a remake, but I don't think it's going to happen, man. I think this is all we're going to get, and that's one reason I recommend it. This is probably going to be all we're ever going to get in this game, so check it out. You can find it for super cheap now, and I think it's well worth your time. Really, really neat story, really neat characters. I will totally revisit this again down the road, but with that being said, man, that is all 11 of the games that I beat in January of 2026. Talk about a hella productive month. And if you've been keeping up with the channel, you know my goal for this year was to beat 30 games. So how in the first month am I going to knock out a third of that goal? Now, to be fair, I wanted those games to be mostly from my backlog, and this was a replay. Arkham City was a replay, backlog, new game to try, backlog, new game to try, new game to try, backlog. And then everything digital on my modded systems, I don't really count as backlog. They are, in a sense, but until I decide to give those systems my full attention, to me, they don't count as backlog. They're just games I can play if I want to. So I really only knocked out 3 games from the backlog, which is about the average amount of games I finish in a month is about 2 to 3. So whatever, I guess we kind of landed even, but it is neat to be able to pick up all these games at my local library for free and get to check those out, right? Because Astrobot, like I said earlier, this is going to be the next one. This will get beaten in February, and I didn't have to pay for it. I'll probably love it just like I did all the other Astrobot games. I'll probably pick it up, but for now, I get to experience it that way. So that's it, you guys. That's all the games. I got to know down below, have y'all played any of the stuff I covered in this video, and what are your thoughts? I'm super curious what people think of the order. But yeah, definitely comment down below. Which one of the games did I play that are your favorites? Which ones did I play that you loved to or you hated? Just let me know, you guys. I always appreciate to hear it. Also, if you enjoyed the conversation today, please hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the content, please hit that like button. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. And I love seeing you guys come back and hang out. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching D+Pad Life. I'll catch you in the next one.